of one of your jobs. So he did the work. Other people were tentative, skittish. I don't know. There was no campaign. There was nobody out getting broad support for themselves or in opposition to Boehner. But another thing was we have so many things that are on our plates. I don't know that the election process here about Boehner is more important than the NSA, is more important than whatever foreign affairs or domestic affairs that we have to take care of, more important than immigration, more important than Obamacare, more important than in the budget fights that we're going to have. I don't know that that's more important. Now, you might say it might play into it based on who's on what committee, but that's not going to matter so much. The House is not going to have the Senate to hide behind putting whatever they want out legislatively and hoping that the Senate, or knowing that the Senate isn't going to pass it. They're not going to have that cover. But the most important part of my article was the part that you go to war with the army you have. This is the army that we have. It's not perfect. It's not even great in some places, but these are the people that we have to work with. So here's what I wrote. I don't look at the situation merely through the prism of the way I wish things would be. I studied Alinsky. I try to deal with the world as it is, not as I wish it to be. That means that whatever spineless losers, other people's characteristics, not necessarily mine, that I have to work with, that is the team I'm going to have to use at any given time to get what I want. I will ride any horse that's put in front of me if it gets me where I want to go. Again, you can argue whether that will or not, but this is the option that I have right now. I may not get to choose the horse, but it's the rider who steers it. It's my job to be a good rider, focusing on how to get the best performance out of this horse. And that's where we've fallen down, I think. We've not done the job of going along and communicating to them, but also helping lay the groundwork, as Andy's been saying for weeks now, lay the groundwork, do the work now to convince people so that the actions that they take have popular support.
Well, and I think you can look at 2 years ago, Raul Labrador contested Boehner for the speakership, and that was a bit of a longer contest because he answered the first question, who do you want? If you don't want Boehner, you have to answer 3 questions. 1, who do you want instead? It was Raul Labrador. What's the case for him being the leader? And Raul spent a few days making that case to the public, and most importantly, to the other members of the House. And 3, do you have a plan to win? I don't know that Raul had a plan to win at that point, and he didn't get all that many votes. This time, there were far more votes against Boehner than there have been on any speakership elections in a really long time. So Boehner got a very strong message. There was no solid opposition. There was just a sense that Boehner hasn't done what we want him to do. And that's the kind of thing that can be motivational to Boehner, and we have to hope that it is. And going back to my favorite part of Felicia's article was when she talked about getting the horse to go where you want him to go and to do what you want him to do. Sometimes you hit him with a switch, but then sometimes you whisper in his ear, and you always give him good food and carrots, and you take care of him, and you take care of his shoes. And so you provide the care and feeding of your horse. You sometimes treat him nicely. You sometimes give him the switch.
The thing about that switch, though, is you have to be very, very careful with it because PETA and not a good situation when.
I do wonder if PETA would complain at Boehner being horsewhipped.
Probably not.
Just had to throw it out there.
That's a good point. I don't think PETA would be too upset. I'm pretty sure that the ACLU would be behind it, would be fine with it. Clearly, it's free speech. Clearly, it's and that's something that you could probably get some bipartisan support for that. You could probably see some real bipartisan support for beating Boehner with a switch. But I've the thing with this Boehner situation, I actually was in a bunch of threads today on Facebook, on Twitter, all over the place, paying attention to this and what people are saying. And it is amazing how deflated and defeated people have gotten. You know, I mean, it's as if it's a, you know, binary thing. If we don't get everything that we want, then we lost. And people are like, seriously, this is the end. The end is here because Boehner got reelected. The world is going to slowly degrade into liberalism because Boehner got reelected. I don't buy that. I don't think that that anyone should buy that, because we're going to fight. We're in a position here where in 2016 we have a presidential election. We're going to have a president who's vetoing good legislation, bipartisan supported legislation the next year. I don't understand why we're getting so defeated.
I would say right now that we're missing the big point. Is Obama says, send me some bills that we can agree on. So they sat there and said something about, why am I muted?
I don't know. You can speak.
Oh, okay. It was muted. I didn't know. Anyway.
You were speaking. We heard you.
Okay. And today he comes out with his Josh Earnest, of all names, sit there and said that he's going to veto the Keystone, whether anybody likes it or not. He's going to veto that. He's going to veto the 40-hour work week, changing his health care plan. If anybody tries to change it from 30 hours to 40 hours. So the first thing they were going to do was the Keystone. And this is where the real fight's at, but everybody's been bypassing it because of the little skirmish that we had today. Now, I don't like Boehner. I tried to give Boehner a chance, during the lame duck, because I don't think anybody should have voted for the crap they voted for during the lame duck. I mean, basically it's like, ha, we won. Now we're going to give you everything you want, and next 2 years we'll try to get what we want. It was stupid. And if you look at it from 2 years ago before that, when the Tea Party took over, we gave them everything again. And I don't understand it. That's what made me mad, but I got mad with my own Representative Holding from North Carolina. I was so pissed off at him. He sit there and turn around 7 hours before he decided to vote for a $1 trillion package, which he said he'd never vote for. He got a co-chairmanship. Imagine that, to India for doing stuff on business stuff with India. And I'm like, you asshole, because you're sitting here turning around and horse trading. So I told him, I said, look, excuse my language, I said, you're a piece of shit, and I'm never going to vote for you again. I said, we will find somebody to primary you. Now, is that too much for me to say? I said it to him. I can't change what Boehner does. If you want to change what Boehner does, don't send stuff to his office. Don't make phone calls to his office. That doesn't work. Send it to the 8th District if you want to protest him. Try to find somebody with money, somebody who's got a reputation that could do something. Because what you're asking the 8th District to do is take away all their power. If John Boehner doesn't have, speakership, I mean, he feeds his own people big time. He's the head cheese. They don't want to get rid of him. You got to have a good reason to get rid of him.
Absolutely.
And I would say the other part of it is Boehner going to play nice? No, Boehner doesn't care about dissension. He openly wants to destroy the Tea Party. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Today, what did he do? Everybody who voted against him, he stripped them of their chairmanships. Everybody. He doesn't care because he thinks he's got the votes now, but he doesn't understand how quick people can turn on him. One other thing I would say, I believe we have I believe we have a mandate. Most people say that we don't have a mandate, that our mandate is just to get along. I haven't heard that from anybody except from the press. And the main reason I say this is because we took over everything in the United States. And I'm talking about everything in historical numbers. And what that told me is that everything you're doing, everything the Democrats are doing is horrible. It's so bad, and we hate you so much, we're going to vote for people we never voted for before. We're going to let them try it. And people are saying, well, that's not a mandate. They just want you to get along with Obama. If they wanted people to get along with Obama, they just would have voted for a bunch of Democrats. But they never did that. They went the other direction. And that's really basically it. I mean, I think the one thing that maybe Republicans, is when our party fights or we have debates, we're fighting, we're infighting, we're not getting along, we're not blah, blah, blah. When the Democratic Party does it, they're having vigorous debates and everything else. And a lot of that is the press stoking that up. They're the ones really trying to, put a spin on how we, how we fight. So if we kept our fights private, I wish there was a big Facebook room where everybody can go in there and scream and bitch and then come out smiling. Put on that fake little smile like,
Except people aren't really putting on that smile, and that's kind of the problem. Andy, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Okay, you're going to get angry at me, because you always get angry at me when I say this. I have an article coming out.
Oh, my God.
JD has literally at times shot me literally through the screen. I have wounds, and I didn't know you had a gun, and certainly not one that.
Well, it's like he's your paid shill. I mean, he asks you a question to which your answer is conveniently. I have an article about that coming out.
I do. My article.
We do have advertising on this show, and it's you two.
My article, well, because it goes to what Stephen was saying earlier, okay, the vetoes that are coming out. My article coming out tomorrow is called The Joy of Vetoes. And what it's going to be about is and it's already written, it's ready to go. Sorry about this, guys. But I'm going to be saying, guys, don't run away from the fact that Obama's going to do vetoes. Embrace it. Because every veto he puts out is going to reveal his controlling mandate. His controlling agenda. See, he hasn't had to do that. He's been protected by Harry Reid. He said it himself. But now he's going to have to reveal with every single veto how controlling he is. So we put something out that says Keystone Pipeline. Once again, don't do this too quickly. I don't want Boehner and company to move too quickly. Do it slow to where the American people can digest every piece as we go. But put out the Keystone Pipeline, it gets vetoed. He looks controlling. People want that. Something to secure the border, he vetoes it. He looks controlling. People want that. All kinds of stuff on Obamacare. Repeal the punishment for not buying insurance and so forth. Every single thing that we repeal on that, piece by piece, we're going to look great. You don't want to repeal all of Obamacare at once. That's not painful enough. I want to do it piece by piece. I want them to feel it. But every single one of these vetoes is going to be setting us up beautifully for 2016. Use the vetoes. Pursue the vetoes. Embrace the vetoes. So often, Democrats and liberals get away with not showing their controlling hand, not showing how they embrace control. They want to tell everybody how many bullets they can carry, how much soda they can drink. They want to control where other people's kids are educated and how. Think about that. They want to control everything, and we don't out them for it. Here we have a perfect opportunity. Use it again and again and again. Enjoy the vetoes.
And in the meantime, we use the language of common sense. We drive people to say, why would he veto that? We build that on the ground they build that in Congress, where's the president going to go?
Really, I mean, this is a huge